Hi everyone, welcome to another very exciting tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can create this cool hover effect on a button like a download. You can use any sort of icon if you want. Here I use an SVG. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do, and without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to go to codity.netlify.app, our online code editor. First thing to go is creating the markup, the HTML markup. So I'm just going to go to create a button, put a download in it, and then I also put the SVG that represents this icon over here. So now heading to the CSS part of it, we're going to get the selector for the button. Let's give it a font size a little bit bigger so that we can see it. So let's say 30 pixel. I'm going to give it a background of blue. You can choose any color you want. And then I would give it a color of white. So there we go. Now for the SVG icon, I actually added a class called icon. So here I can do button.icon. Give it a color, or in SVG world, it's fill actually. So fill, I'm going to give it a current color, which is white. Then I will define a width, let's say 1.7 rem, and then height of 1.7 rem as well. You can tune it based on the size that you want. And here I'm going to give it for the button itself, I'm going to give it a padding of 10 pixel from top to bottom and maybe 20 pixel from left to right. Then I would set the position for the icon because I want to center it. Position to be absolute. So absolute, and then top 50%, left 50%, and then transform, translate minus 50% and minus 50%. So now you can see that it's not clearly because absolute, I have to add L here. So now you can see it's not even visible. I need to, since it's absolute, I need to give it a Z index of 1. And then the next thing I want to do is position absolute, transform, fill color, width, height, everything looks correct. I have to actually see the button. Oh, the reason is because I need to set the position here to be relative, because we do have a position absolute over here. Cool. Good thing to learn. Make sure that if your parent element is not having the position relative and you're defining a position absolute, you need to define position relative for the parent. So now I can go ahead and remove the scale over here. Now we actually have it. So the next step is, if you notice in this one, when I hover it, there is this black background that goes up. To be able to achieve that, I need to go ahead and add a after pseudo element, so content to be nothing, then position absolute, top 0, left 0, background, if you remember it was black, so 0, 0, 0, and then I would set the let's see what we're missing, position absolute, top, width 100%, and then height also to be 100%. So now you can see that we actually have it. Let's add a border radius to the bottom to make it to our button to make it a little bit more nice, 5 pixel. I also gonna create a class called centered. I set the position to be absolute, left 50%, top 50%, and then transform, translate minus 50% and minus 50%. So now if I apply this class to our button, class centered, it's going to come to the center of the screen. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that I put everything correct. Yeah, that's fine. Translate. Sorry for my mistakes here. Then we have this. Now I'm just gonna, for the after element, which we've added for the black background, I'm gonna set the transform scale Y to be 0, just like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and create the hover. So on hover, on after, I want to transform scale Y to be 1, right? This is what we've defined. So you can see that it actually works, but I need to add a transition. So let's add a transition, transform, and then 0.3 seconds. Now if you notice, when I do that, it actually scales up from the center. What I need to do is define the transform origin to be left and then bottom. So now you can see that when I hover on it, it actually goes up. Just going to bring this button a little bit up. So instead of 50%, let's put 20%. So now the first part of our animation is ready. The second part is this one. So now what I need to do, I'm going to set the button hover. Let me just add a little bit of a white space over here. Hover, and then here we have the icon. I want to make it to scale up, but you can see in the icon we actually have position, absolute, and then transform, right? So I'm going to put the scale to be 0 initially. Copy this. On the hover, I want the scale to be 1. So now you can see that it actually scales up, but I also want the button to have a Z index of 1, so it actually comes on top of the after, as you can see. And then also I want to set the transition, because I want to have an animation effect on it, transform, and then 0.3 seconds. So now if you notice, it actually pops up when we hover on this. One more thing I can add for the visuals of this, I can set the opacity to be 0 on the icon, and then here on the hover, I can set it to 1. Coming here, set the opacity to be 0.2 seconds on the transition. So now we have a little bit of a opacity change as well on our icon. It's very small, but it adds to the effect really nicely. Great, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Yet another effect that we've learned through working only with CSS. And I wish you a great day and night. Stay tuned. We're going to have really awesome tutorials next, and see you next time. Goodbye.